right, we are rolling. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Thursday, December 21st, 2023 Prodigy Traders recap. I took two trades on NQ today, and jumping right into it, we started off pre-market at 8:30 with quarter over quarter GDP and unemployment claims as red folder news drivers. So popping over to a chart. Before we get into it, actually, I'm just going to give you a second to, I implore you to pause the video and take a look and try and look at my entries and think about what my thought process might have been getting into this. And then we will wipe this and get into my thought process. So coming into the morning, what was that, 10 o'clock? All right, 9 o'clock. So coming into the morning, there's some old stuff up there. All right, coming into the morning, we had a pretty significant drop off. 2 o'clock yesterday. I don't even remember what happened yesterday. Weird. Well, we were trending down the entire day yesterday after, what did we do? We came up and swept by side and then just tanked. All right, so coming into today, I think I was actually on the 2 hour when I had got here in the morning and seen that we had a hard drop, shifted structure to the downside, and I think there's a breaker. Yep, so a breaker plus a 2 hour for value gap for a unicorn setup, but this is a very large fair value gap on the 2 hour, so I took equilibrium of that. We hit it, and also subsequently at the same time hit the breaker and started rejecting really hard off of it. So I wanted more shorts because we have nothing really on our way down stopping us from getting to at least this low. So I will be looking for more downside this week. So I wanted to take shorts this morning, coming into a smaller time frame again, just seeing that we are rejecting this bigger time frame imbalance. And where are we here? All right, let's run over to market open. So there we go. We're at market open. So market opens, and I was hoping that we would get a Judas swing up to sweep some liquidity, which we did. We swept this little internal high over here, and now I was looking for shorts because after such a large move down back here, it doesn't take much for a market to tank, and we don't need a massive liquidity sweep to tank as well. So we had swept liquidity, and I was at this point looking for a move down, and we also formed this 1 minute fair value gap. I don't take inverse fair value gaps a lot, but I was interested in this one as I thought we would continue lower, and we immediately inversed that, and upon inversing that, I took an entry. I think my fill was around here with a stop. My stop was a close above the fair value gap, but we'll place it above the candle for ease sake, targeting the data lows. So what ended up happening was we went down and we just kind of wicked around in this fair value gap, but I made the mistake of moving my stop loss to these equal highs, which in hindsight, I was worried about losing money and I wanted to conserve the amount of money I lost. So I moved them, which equal highs inside of a fair value gap is a very high probability target. And that's not something that I remembered at the time. And we swept liquidity. And sure enough, we come back up and we take out those highs while respecting the fair value gap. So at that point, I was out of this trade and was just sitting and waiting for some more. But while I was sitting, I was checking equilibrium of this range because I wasn't really sure we were bouncing, and we were bouncing around equilibrium of this swing. Let me check something. All right, we're good to go. So we're bouncing on equilibrium of this range, but I figured that bearish, my bias was bearish and figuring that we would continue to go lower. So I was really trusting this 1 minute or 1 minute inverse to hold us down, but we needed to get through and really displace through equilibrium in order to see these data lows down here, which was my final target. So we bounce around in here, go down, sweep a little bit lower, come back up. We're holding the fair value gap again. Give it 2 more touches, and then we start falling off the face of the earth. So at this point, I wasn't super happy that my original entry got stopped out because I was thinking about the money and not the process. And I figured we were going to displace to these lows pretty quick, so I did want to look for a re-entry, but I was not going to chase. I did want to take the next fair value gap that presented itself. So, which is exactly what happens here. So as we're coming down, 1 minute fair value gap, 1 minute fair value gap, and I wanted to take the very next fair value gap that got hit, which was this one, and I think I had my stop in this mess of breakers here. So I would say around here. And I was targeting the equal lows. All right, I had to step away for a second there. Yes, entered in this for value gap and was targeting the data lows as a final target, but I entered with one contract here with a stop loss in this mess of breakers, looking on the 2 minute above the 2 minute fair value gaps high, and as well, where were we? On the 1 minute, using equilibrium of this entire swing, not the individual legs. Oh, well, that's not quite right. Let's see. There we go. But we came up, we held that fair value gap, and we started seeking lower prices, and we continued to move down and quickly ran right to the data lows, and I was out there. But overall, looking for shorts, bearish bias, we bounced around equilibrium of this whole or this swing range, and we continued to hold this 1 minute inversion for value gap and ended up moving to the downside. So first trade had the right idea, but I was a little too quick with my stop loss, and that is what caused me to get out of that trade. But I was very confident in our bearish draw on the data lows and wanted to get in, but did not want to chase. And I was glad I waited for this for value gap. Minimal drawdown, went right to the data lows. I did not look at ES much today because on a higher time frame, we were in the same area, rejecting from a bigger imbalance, bigger time frame imbalance. But that was the trades for today, and I definitely gonna journal moving the stop loss because I was thinking about money and thinking about conserving money and not thinking about the process, and that's something that I still struggle with and sometimes forget to journal because I don't want to necessarily talk about that. But if I would have left the stop loss where it was supposed to be for the system, then I would have never gotten stopped and maybe wouldn't have had to take in this trade. But I did have 2 contracts on in here because I was pretty confident, and I got stopped on those and ended up making my losses back and some more for this trade. But otherwise, that is it for today, and I haven't looked at what my thing is for tomorrow, but tomorrow for Friday, the 22nd for news. What do we got? Month over month PCE and consumer sentiment. All right, so should be good to trade after 10 o'clock.